Would you please take your seats? Thank you very much. That was quick. Most crowds in Houston don't obey that rapidly.
Good morning, everybody. As chairs of the 5th Annual BioHouston Lunch honoring women in science, Malcolm and I welcome you and thank you for joining us today. Many of BioHouston's members and associates are here today, and there are several new friends of BioHouston as well. One of our goals today is to broaden our circle and build awareness about the importance of the biotech industry in the future of our city, so that our fellow Houstonians are aware that each one of us holds a stake in what BioHouston is doing. If you've attended our luncheons in the past, you know that we try to end on time. Maybe that is one reason why you have returned this year. Therefore, our opening remarks will be very brief. I first want to recognize our underwriters who have provided financial support for this event. They are listed in your program, and we are very grateful for their support. Let's give them a hand, please. Thanks to these wonderful individuals and companies, we have raised more funds to support BioHouston than ever before. We appreciate every one of you.
There are enough distinguished scientists and engineers in this room today to start a new university. And I'd love to introduce them all, but if we did, we would be here till 2 o'clock, so I can't do that. This year is a challenging one for BioHouston. All years are challenging. It's also a time of great opportunity. Like, that's what Houston is really all about when you come to think about it. As many of you know, BioHouston was established in 2001 with the mission of making the Houston region a world-class competitor in the life science industry. The progress that we have made in the past 10 years has been extraordinary. There are now more than 200 life science companies in the region today. We are witnessing the rise of a dynamic biotechnology sector that we hope one day will be as important to the region as the energy sector. Are we there yet? No. Are we on the right track? Of course. Now, Houston has been largely insulated from the cyclical ups and downs in energy and other sectors because we've been successful in creating a mix of industries in our region. Diversification is a very, very good thing, not only for the economy of Houston, but because it's allowed an unusual degree of successful interaction between fields such as energy, information technology, nanotechnology, medicine, and biotechnology. This luncheon provides a timely opportunity to understand the different ways that women in our region have pursued these and other scientific avenues, each to a different and distinguished destination.
If you're new to this event, you might wonder why we are focusing every year on women in science. You need to look no further than Wikipedia, the heavily used but still incomplete online encyclopedia. Certainly for women in STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, and medicine, entries for men in Wikipedia far outnumber women. But even worse, women who have done pioneering work in STEM fields are not always recognized. Even those who have won the coveted Larker Prize for Medical Research or the William Bowie Medal for Research on Geophysics. Until this failing is rectified, you may expect that organizations such as BioHouston will seek to assure that honors are awarded where honors are due. The life stories of the women we honored from 2009 through 2012 are truly remarkable. Their names are listed in your program. Many of their greatest accomplishments are still to come. We continue our tradition today by introducing you to 4 outstanding women who have contributed in profound ways to the world of science. I now introduce another very talented woman, one who is a driving force behind BioHouston and indeed the entire biotechnology industry in our region. And I have to say one more time, a girl from my hometown, Chattanooga, Tennessee, Jacqueline Northcutt, the CEO of BioHouston.
You know, when I was in college and I came to Houston, I remember thinking people kept talking about UT all the time, and I couldn't understand why people in Texas talked about the University of Tennessee all the time. Oh, there's another UT. So thank you, Malcolm and Elizabeth. Thank you so much. You're an inspiring couple. You have been endlessly and tirelessly dedicated to BioHouston for the last 10 years and to this lunch for the last couple of years, and we really do appreciate all of your efforts. So please join me in thanking Malcolm and Elizabeth. So when BioHouston was launched more than a decade ago, many of us didn't really know what biotechnology was all about. It was an industry in its infancy, even though it had been around since the early 80s on the East and West Coasts. But with our incredible academic institutions here, we started to see some very exciting discoveries out of our lab. In fact, hundreds on an annual basis. And with the growth of the largest medical center on the planet, we have a tremendous supply of patients for clinical trials. So these 2 assets, the discoveries in the clinical base, have really established us to have gains not only over the last 10 years, but for the future. Are we there yet? No. However, we've grown from just a mere handful of companies to over 200. We still have a critical gap. So we know that it takes both R&D, research and development, to bring new therapies to patients. Texas has an abundance of the R in our state with our renowned medical and research institutions. We also have a wealth of clinical research. However, we have a dearth of the D. And the reason is because the development occurs in pharmaceutical and biotechnology companies. And because we lack that critical mass of companies, we lack that expertise that's required to take that research from the lab and develop it in a way, all the preclinical work and the clinical work that needs to occur to become an approved product. So because we lack it, this task has been shifting to our academic scientists, whose grants and training make them ill-equipped to make strategic product decisions and also to conduct the right experiments that private investors want to see before they make that investment. Even the savviest academic scientist struggles with critical steps in the development process, such as toxicology or manufacturing or even the regulatory process. So unfortunately, in too many cases, this causes our research discoveries to fail once they get to the clinic, or, I'm not sure which is worse, to be exported outside the state. So to combat this, we have recruited product development specialists from the East and West Coast to be here and to help our research projects through preclinical development into the clinic and ultimately to become approved products. You are helping us significantly today by being here. We are making progress. We've made gains since last year, and this would not be possible without the generous support of people like you and the organizations that you represent. We are riding an unbelievable energy boom right now, generating wealth that makes us the envy of the rest of the country. So I propose that we invest some of those returns in an industry that is showing exceptional promise. A smart investment in a diversified economy, one that will protect us when, not if, but when, and I wish I could say when that is, the next downturn comes. I saw earlier this week that Texas is one of the fastest growing populations in the United States, and that people are flocking to Houston from all over the country. So let's make sure that we are a magnet for biotech and medtech, as well as energy. A magnet that keeps our homegrown intellectual capital and the accompanying economic engine here. Today, you're going to hear 4 stories from truly exceptional women, and their life stories, I think, will continue to inspire us as the women that have gone before us. And please note in your program that the honorees in the past are listed, and we are so happy to have many of them with us today and to continue this tradition. So for now, I invite you to enjoy your lunch, and we'll be back to begin our tribute. Thank you very much for being here.
It always works, the glass and the knife. Sorry to interrupt this the many conversations going on. I am John Mendelson, and I've had the honor and pleasure of serving as vice chairman of BioHouston since it was started more than a decade ago. And I have a special pleasure today in telling you a story about Gigi Lozano, who's one of our honorees. Gigi is the eldest of 6 children, born to parents who immigrated from Mexico to East Chicago, Indiana, so that her father could work in a steel mill there. She did not know a word of English when she started kindergarten here, and she had to go to a speech class to catch up. And she did not enjoy science in her early education. However, in high school, her parents were able to enroll her in a Catholic school where she had fabulous teachers in both biology and chemistry, and she got hooked. On the way through high school, the family left East Chicago, Indiana, and moved to McAllen, Texas. Now, she went off to college at the University of Texas Pan Am campus in the Valley. It's right on the border. It's a bilingual university, part of the UT system, where she majored in biology and a minor in math. And then she went to the NIH. Now, she did not have any background in molecular biology, so she started learning it by herself from books, 1 chapter at a time. She was interested enough to write the Max Planck Institute in Germany, wrote the director to see if she could get a job, and she got it and got hired. And there, she really learned molecular biology and came out understanding the field. Now, at that point, she went off to get her PhD at Rutgers, and then did a postdoc with Dr. Arnold Levine at Princeton, who is one of the leading scientists in the country. He was president of Rockefeller University and does distinguished work in molecular biology. And Arnie told me once that Gigi Lozano was his best student. She married Greg, and within 2 years, they were recruited to Houston. Greg to Baylor, and Gigi to MD Anderson. She wrote her first grant here, and that was approved, and it has now been renewed for 25 years. So today, Gigi Lozano is professor and chair of the Department of Genetics at the University of Texas MD Anderson Cancer Center. And let me just briefly describe what her research does. She's studying a gene called P53, which is frequently mutated in cancer and is thought to be the traffic cop that tells cells whether they should proliferate or not, and whether they should survive or not. So it's very important. And it's deranged and malfunctioning in about half of all cancers. Gigi's made 3 important contributions at least. One was the product of this gene regulates the expression of many other genes in the genome, and she learned how chemically that occurs, what's called transcription activation. Then she discovered 2 compounds called MDM2 and 4 in the body, in the cell, which actually inhibit the function of the traffic cop. You want the traffic cop to allow a certain amount of proliferation, but then stop proliferation when it's getting too far. And then it was known that this mutations in this gene could cause the traffic cop to quit, just to retire, which means the cell keeps dividing. She also found that other mutations in the traffic cop could cause it to overreact. So she's really dissected P53, and I think she's got another decade or 2 of work ahead of her, continuing to explore this very important part of the cancer problem. She has currently 15 postdocs in her lab and graduate students, and keeps them all very busy. She's published over 200 research papers and reviews and invited chapters. She's had many honors that I'm not going to run through because it's only fair to give some time to our other honorees. And incidentally, I want to congratulate all 4 of them. They're terrific people. But I do want to say that she and Greg have a daughter, Rebecca, that she loves the piano and found a new piano teacher, and she finds time to practice as well as to grow orchids. So I can speak from experience and say that the world is a better place because Gigi Lozano has dedicated her professional life to research on how P53 works. And we're just so pleased to celebrate today, Gigi, with you as one of BioHouston's 2013 Women in Science. Would you please come up?
Thank you. Thank you, John, for that lovely and very embarrassing introduction. You're a skilled orator, an outstanding scientist, and a wonderful colleague, so thank you. I'm here to accept this award on behalf of an amazing team of students, fellows, and faculty that I've had the pleasure to work with throughout the years at MD Anderson. I have tried to establish an open, interactive, collaborative environment so that we share our knowledge, ask good questions, pursue those answers. Our contributions to understanding the P53 tumor suppressor pathway have been very rewarding. I want to thank my husband of 28 years, Greg, that's right, 28, for his unwavering support of my career. Everyone should have a husband like Greg. And my daughter, Rebecca, because she helps me stay balanced between life and work. I also want to thank my friends and colleagues who are here today to celebrate with me. And I want to thank the leadership at MD Anderson, past and present, for making MD Anderson a wonderful place to work and to learn, and for all their support for my research endeavors and for providing ample opportunity to expand my leadership skills. I feel that together we are making a difference, so thank you all.
Good afternoon. I'm Janet Clark, and there's no company name after my name in the brochure because I'm recently retired CFO of Marathon. And I'm extremely pleased to be here today to introduce Annelle Bay. She was born in Midland, Texas, so it might not be a surprise to learn that one of her parents was in the oil business. In fact, it was her father. And he was a geologist at Shell. And her mother had a different kind of academic and life perspective provided by her mother, who leaned towards psychology and the humanities. Her family did not believe in gender stereotyping, so we can see from the fact that Annelle is an outstanding geologist and her sister is a biologist and computer scientist. Their two brothers are the ones who dove into art and literature, and one of whom is here today. All four kids grew up reading a lot, and that helps explain Annelle's intellectual curiosity and love of learning. Annelle moved to Houston, where she and I met in junior high. Although there were many Rice alumni in her extended family, she went to Trinity University in San Antonio after graduating from Memorial High School, and originally thought she would be a biology or forestry major because she enjoyed those subjects and always loved being outside. But one day she heard a guest lecture from a geology professor who was entertaining, funny, a great communicator in an environmental studies class, and decided to take a course that he was teaching next semester. The rest, they say, was history. Annelle went straight from Trinity to the graduate program in geology at the University of Texas. She got her master's while her husband-to-be, Robert Suchecki, got his PhD, also in geology. At that time, just 20% of the graduate students in geology were women. Now, Annelle had many opportunities coming out of UT, and she joined Shell, living in New Orleans, where she worked the East Texas Basin. It's just an interesting side note. Her father actually is also a geologist at Shell, worked the East Texas Basin, and my nephew, a petroleum engineer at Shell, is working the East Texas Basin. So a very, very prolific basin, and the continued development of technology has enabled the industry to continue exploiting that area and delivering more hydrocarbons. But when she would go out on visits to the wells, she'd look at the rocks, the cuttings, all kinds of other things to help the geologists on the well site determine what the optimum way to develop the resource was. After marrying Robert, she moved to California with Chevron and shifted her work into research. But in her heart, she still wanted to drill wells. Fortunately, she had many opportunities to do just that. First, working for Sahio in Dallas, drilling for gas in the Anadarko Basin, that's Oklahoma for those of you who are not in the business, and then with Sun Exploration and Production Division, which then spun off into Oryx Energy. And she still kept drilling more and more successful gas wells. She says that it is huge fun because it's like solving a puzzle. Amazingly, exploration geologists work with very, very little data, and developmental geologists get to work with lots of data, lots of information. Annelle really likes the mystery and the problem-solving aspect that goes with exploration. Working at Oryx, Annelle had all kinds of new adventures, first in New Mexico, and then exploring international ventures. She was looking at sedimentary basins all over the world, Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, and then in Siberia, where she learned the Cyrillic alphabet and had to communicate through an interpreter. Although she distinguished herself by two claims to fame, first being the only woman on the team, and second being the only one not to get sick while on the job, she concluded Russia wasn't the place she wanted to be long term. She picked up a great phrase in those days, "In God we trust, but we check on everyone else." After that, she led the teams that made very significant discoveries. First, the major oil field in Ecuador, the Uralpa field, and the huge Bayu-Undan gas field in Southeast Asia. Then in the mid-1990s, Robert took an assignment in Indonesia, and they moved to Jakarta with their two young children, one of whom is here, her daughter Carmen, who is also in the oil business, by the way, where Annelle was able to continue working for Oryx. And then they returned to the U.S. just in time for oil to drop to $10 back in 1998. Again, if you're in the oil industry, I don't have to tell you when that was. Annelle moved to Kerr-McGee and then to Shell before she got a call from Marathon in 2008. Since I was CFO at the time, I couldn't have been happier to see my old friend from junior high named head of worldwide exploration at a major U.S. oil company. Annelle has literally been around the world and back, but one of the best things about her and why she's so deserving of this award is that she is just such a real person. When you ask her about she work, she's extremely quick to say that the people she works with are the key to her success, and many of whom are here today, I'm pleased to say. She talks about teamwork and about how she has learned more from those who work for her as she has from those she reports to. I can tell you she is not only incredibly highly respected at Marathon by all the employees, but she is also hugely, hugely well-liked. And she's very dedicated to helping women choose the fields of math and science, because although the numbers are better than when she was a graduate student at the University of Texas, there still are not enough women going into science, engineering, and technology. Her family is extremely important to her. The science gene continues in the family. Her daughter Carmen has a master's degree in chemical engineering and is in the oil and gas business, and her son Luke is on his way to become a landman. And so I'm sure that when they're on driving trips, the whole family is known to argue about what kind of rocks and outcrops they're looking at in the highway, what the prospects are. Anel is an exemplary energy executive and scientist. In addition, she gives back to the community in so many ways. She participates in many different organizations which are listed in your brochure, but just to mention a few, she's on the advisory board of the Jackson School of Geology at the University of Texas, the American Association of Petroleum Geology, and I think very importantly, and the IPAA, International Petroleum Association of Americas, Education Center, which is encouraging younger students to pursue math and science early in their careers. So with all of that, I am very, very proud to introduce my friend, Anel Bey, who richly deserves this award. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. How wonderful and how much fun it is to be introduced by the former, recently retired, and very happy and successful CFO of Marathon Oil Company. I certainly want to thank BioHouston for this award, and I also want to offer my congratulations to the other honorees as well. Gigi's story is amazing, and I look forward to hearing Janet and Naomi's stories. I would like to acknowledge a legacy of support and influence from my career in the oil and gas industry. Certainly my undergraduate and graduate institutions, Trinity University and the University of Texas. Where's Jacqueline? That's the University of Texas at Austin. We don't talk about Tennessee in this state. And I'd also like to thank all the oil and gas companies that I've worked for, and especially Marathon Oil Company, for supporting this initiative. On a personal level, what a spectacular ride I have had for the last 33 years. I was sponsored, trained, coached, and encouraged by 4 special geologists, Jerry Box, Eddie Anglin, Ken Crouch, and my father, Tom Bey. But I did learn the most from the people who worked for me, the leadership teams, and those who worked for me through the years. They kept me informed, they kept me honest, and they certainly continued to keep me humble, telling me when I am wrong and when I am not listening. And note that's the present tense. So I want to thank them for that, because they are the ones who have made me successful. So many of them are here today. And last but not least, I want to thank my wonderful husband and our children. It was said our daughter's here to be with us today, as well as the rest of my family and many friends who are here with us today, who have been supportive, encouraging, and certainly made my life fun. So I have just a simple message. It only will take a minute. I promise not to stay up here very long. And it's really to pass on to the next generation, and I hope the generation after that as well. And it starts with taking 4 years of math and science in high school, so that you have the foundation, you have the preparation, and you have the capabilities to choose a math and science career in college. I'm asking each of you today to take the time to encourage the elementary, middle school, and high school students that you either run into or you know to continue to stay in math and science programs in school. We tend to lose them in the middle school and the high school, and we're not graduating enough scientists in this